All right, ready to dive in. We're tackling Taylor Swift today.
Definitely a deep dive worthy subject.
This one goes out to all the Swifties out there. You wanted to know how a girl who grew up on a Christmas tree farm became like the biggest name in music.
Yeah, how does that happen? It's a fascinating story.
Well, grab your metaphorical magnifying glass because we're about to find out. And what better place to start than with the ultimate source of internet rabbit holes, Wikipedia.
You're not wrong. You go on Wikipedia to look up like what year a song came out, and suddenly you're reading about the history of, I don't know, synthesizers.
Exactly. It's like this massive web of information just waiting to be untangled. Some might think it's a bit, unconventional to use Wikipedia to understand a global icon like Taylor Swift.
Okay, I see where you're going with this.
Yeah.
But I actually kind of love it.
Right. It's like we're piecing together a puzzle using these little snippets of information to reveal the bigger picture. And when we're talking about a career as big and bold as hers, we need all the pieces we can get.
Plus, let's be real, who hasn't fallen down a Wikipedia rabbit hole once or twice?
Ugh.
Or like every Tuesday night?
Don't judge me. So, okay, let's go back to the very beginning. Taylor Allison Swift, born December 13th, 1989, in West Reading, Pennsylvania. Now, I'm not saying it's impossible to be born in West Reading and become a massive star.
But it doesn't exactly scream future stadium-filling, record-breaking superstar, does it?
Not really, which just makes her story all the more incredible. I mean, picture it, growing up on a Christmas tree farm.
Spending your summers singing in New Jersey coffee shops. It's like a scene straight out of, well, a Taylor Swift song, actually.
Exactly, and I think that's part of what makes her so relatable. She's living proof that even amidst those Christmas trees and coffee shop gigs, big dreams can take root. And speaking of big dreams, did you know her grandmother was an opera singer?
It's true. And honestly, that little detail always gets me. It's like this hidden layer, this kind of musical legacy that's been passed down through the generations.
It's like destiny was calling. But here's where things take a turn, because at just 11 years old, this small-town girl with a big voice sets her sights on Nashville.
And she's not just dreaming about it, she's going for it. Guitar in hand, she's pounding the pavement, auditioning for every record label in town.
And facing rejection after rejection.
Which, let's be honest, is a pretty rough experience for anyone, let alone an 11-year-old.
But here's the thing about Taylor Swift. She's not one to back down from a challenge. No, she's not. And instead of getting discouraged, she uses that rejection as fuel. She channels all that energy into her songwriting and basically says, fine, if they won't sign me, I'll write my own ticket to the top.
Which, spoiler alert, she totally does. But it's fascinating to me how her sound evolves. From those early days in Nashville, we get this like pure country sound. I mean, Teardrops on My Guitar, You Belong With Me. Those were our anthems, pure pop country perfection.
Don't forget those catchy melodies. She had this knack for crafting songs that were both undeniably infectious and surprisingly deep. She wasn't afraid to be vulnerable, even when it was wrapped in a catchy pop hook.
And that vulnerability is part of what makes her so relatable. But as her career takes off, she starts to experiment. She dips her toes into different genres, never letting herself be put in a box.
Yeah, like on Speak Now. There are definitely some rock influences there, a little bit of an edge that we hadn't quite heard from her before.
It was subtle, but it showed that she wasn't content with just sticking to one sound, one style.
Okay.
She was evolving as an artist, pushing boundaries, and I think that's a huge part of her appeal. She kept us guessing.
It's like she took that experience of being told, oh, you're not country enough, and decided to redefine what enough even meant.
She owned it.
Totally.
Yeah.
By the time Red comes out, we're in full-fledged pop territory. And she's not just keeping up with the trends, she's setting them.
She became this musical chameleon, effortlessly adapting, evolving with every album. It was like watching a masterclass in defying expectations.
It's crazy, right? You look at her Wikipedia page now, and it's like this testament to that evolution. But even with all the success, the awards, the global fame, there's still something so grounded about her, so relatable. It's like she never forgot those early days, those Christmas tree farm roots.
And it all started with a guitar and a dream, right? Well, a guitar, a dream, and a Wikipedia page full of fascinating details.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, have we talked about her songwriting process yet?
Oh, we are just getting started. Because let's be real, that's where the real magic happens. It's true, though. Her lyrics, they get you every time.
Right. Like, no matter what you're going through, chances are Taylor Swift has a song for that. And that's the thing about her songwriting. It's personal, almost like reading her diary.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Remember that whole Dear John debacle? I mean, talk about wearing your heart on your sleeve.
Oh, totally. But, as much as we love to dissect those lyrics and speculate about who
Mhm.
inspired what, you got to hand it to her. She's never backed down from putting her own experiences into her music. She owns it.
Yeah, and she's actually talked about that, hasn't she? About how, as a woman in the music industry especially, you're often told to tone it down, be less honest, less real.
Oh, absolutely. Remember that piece she wrote? It was like she was saying, look, this is my truth, this is my art, and I'm not going to apologize for it.
It was a really powerful statement, but let's be real, that level of honesty can be a double-edged sword, right?
Totally. On the one hand, it creates this incredible connection with her fans. They see themselves in her music and her stories, but it also invites a lot of scrutiny, a lot of judgment.
And let's be honest, sometimes straight up disrespect.
It's true. And that's where her business savvy comes in. Because she's not just an artist. She's a powerhouse entrepreneur who understands the music industry inside and out.
Oh, 100%. I mean, hello? Niels Schoberg. Need I say more?
Mic drop moment right there. For those who haven't tumbled down this particular Wikipedia rabbit hole, she secretly co-wrote that massive hit, This Is What You Came For, under that pseudonym.
I mean, can we just take a moment to appreciate the genius of that? She basically created this alter ego to prove that she could write a chart-topping banger without anyone knowing it was her.
It was like this secret mission to reclaim her power, her agency, in an industry that so often tries to control female artists. And the best part, she totally outsmarted them all.
It's iconic, really. And, that same fierce independence, that refusal to be put in a box, we see that in so many aspects of her career. Like her decision to re-record her early albums, that was a boss move.
Seriously. She took control of her masters, her music, her legacy. It was about ownership, for sure, but it's also about sending a message. I'm not afraid to fight for what I believe in, even if it means going head-to-head with the biggest names in the business.
And let's not forget, this is a woman who's used her platform to speak out about things she's passionate about, to advocate for change. I mean, she's a vocal supporter of LGBTQ rights, gun control, voting rights. She's put her money where her mouth is and isn't afraid to stand up for what she believes in.
And, she didn't come out swinging on every issue right away. For a long time, there was this pressure on her to be more outspoken about her political views. But you can tell she was waiting for the right moment.
It's like she realized that her silence was speaking volumes. And when she did decide to speak out, it was powerful because it was authentically her.
It was.
Yeah.
And yeah, she's faced backlash, boycotts, even death threats. But she never backed down. And I think that's part of what makes her such a powerful force. She's not afraid to use her voice, even when it's hard.
It's interesting, though, because she managed to balance that with still being, like, relatable. You know what I mean? It's not just about the grand gestures. It's about those little moments of connection that make people feel seen, heard. And nobody does that better than Taylor Swift. Like, remember when she sent that fan who was going through a tough time a care package?
Oh, and remember when she surprised that couple at their wedding?
Yay. It's those little things, those genuine acts of kindness that make all the difference. And then there's the music.
The music that started it all.
Yeah.
And, I think that's the key here. It always comes back to the music.
Because music is this universal language, right? It transcends borders, languages, backgrounds. And Taylor Swift has this uncanny ability to tap into those universal emotions, to make us feel less alone in the world.
Exactly. Whether you're celebrating a new love, nursing a broken heart, or just trying to figure out this crazy thing called life, there's a Taylor Swift song for that. And I think that's why she's resonated so deeply with so many people, is because she makes us feel seen, heard, and understood.
And that brings us back to our original question, why Taylor Swift?
Why is she such a phenomenon? Why her?
Well, I think we're starting to piece together the answer. It's wild to think how far she's come, from, like, simming in those coffee shops to owning her entire catalog of music.
Talk about a full circle moment, right?
Yeah.
I mean, she's gone from performing covers to having her own songs covered by, like, everyone.
And it's not just covers, right? Like, there's this whole academic discourse around her lyrics, her impact on pop culture. It's insane. I think we even saw a course on her, like, at Harvard or something.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And let's not forget the whole Taylor Swift effect on the economy.
Right. Like, she releases an album and suddenly everyone's buying cardigans and wearing red lipstick.
It's incredible. She's a cultural force to be reckoned with, that's for sure. And it's funny because we talk a lot about her influence on a global scale, which is huge, but I always think back to those early influences on her. Like, remember we talked about her grandmother, the opera singer?
Oh, totally. There's something so poetic about that connection.
Right, like it's about lineage, about carrying the torch, but it's also about evolution.
Oh, 100%. Her grandmother sang other people's songs, right? Gave voice to the visions of these composers from, like, centuries ago.
Exactly. But Taylor, she's not just singing, she's writing, she's producing, she's building an empire, and she's doing it all on her own terms.
I think that's what makes her so inspiring, especially to young women. She's living proof that you can be both a creative force and a savvy businesswoman. You can be vulnerable and still be a total badass.
Absolutely. And that re-recording project. Talk about a power move. She wasn't just reclaiming her masters, she was reclaiming her narrative. She was basically saying, yeah, I wrote these songs about my life, about my experiences, but they're mine now, and I get to decide how they're shared with the world.
It makes you wonder, right? Like, does owning your creative work change its meaning? Does it give you more power?
It's a really interesting question. On the one hand, the songs themselves, the melodies, the lyrics, they're the same, right? But there's a different energy around them, I think, when an artist reclaims ownership.
Like they're imbued with this new sense of purpose.
Yeah, exactly. It's a statement. And for fans, it's almost like this shared victory.
Totally. It becomes this collective experience. And I think that's what's so special about Taylor Swift and her relationship with her fans. There's this sense of community, of shared ownership, even.
It's like they've been on this journey with her from the very beginning.
From those Christmas tree farm days to sold out stadium tours, it's a journey that speaks to the power of ambition, resilience, and staying true to yourself, even when the world tries to put you in a box.
Well said. And she probably wouldn't be where she is today without that Wikipedia page we've been poring over.
Hey, never underestimate the power of a good Wikipedia rabbit hole. But seriously, Taylor Swift's story is proof that anything is possible with a little bit of talent, a whole lot of hard work, and the courage to shake off the haters and chase your dreams.
Here, here. And on that note, we'll leave you with this thought. What dreams are you chasing? And what are you willing to do to make them a reality? Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, Swifties.